Remember, if you do what you've always done, you will get what you've always got. So it's down to you to reflect on what you've always done, see what worked, see what didn't work, and get super, super clear on your vision. So what I always say to clients is you've got to be it here mentally before you actually become it physically. Set goals that scare you. Like, we should look at imposter syndrome as a positive. We should reframe that as something we should chase. In 2022, if you want to have your best year and you want to create your best year, focus more on becoming more disciplined. And the reason I say that is, number 13 is an important one, and it can be a painful one. Now, for some of you, that might take some soul searching. For some of you, that might be really tough. I don't give a fuck. A big thank you, and I continue to follow you, for you are the boss and the true coach. Wow! It's gonna be the best podcast ever, man. And just before we dive straight into today's Rich in Success podcast episode, I wanted to share with you what becoming a Rich in Success member could actually do for your life. Now, if you're somebody that is at a point where you're serious about positive change, whether that be in your health, your well-being, your mindset, your business, your career, your finances, or your relationships, the Rich in Success membership is perfect for you. For just £39 a month, you get access to over 40 training videos where I'll be taking you through everything from goal setting. We'll be looking at high performance habits. We'll be looking at different changes you can make to your mindset and your attitude that are going to be able to propel you to have more success in every single area of your life. And in addition to these training videos, every month, you will get a live group coaching call with me where you can ask me any questions about the content or about things that you're going through in your life so that I can help you personally as your coach. And as well as that, there will be exclusive bonus interviews with experts in a variety of fields. I'm bringing together the best minds, the best experts from all around the world to give you access to the very best content to help you move forward in your life. All this for just £39 a month, reoccurring subscription that you can cancel at any time. To become a Rich in Success member today, please click the link below or head on over to richinsuccess.com where you can sign up there, and I will look forward to seeing you in the exclusive members area very soon. Okay, hang on, here we go live. Okay, welcome back everybody to the Rich in Success podcast, the show that brings you motivation, education, and indeed inspiration on how you can live a happier, a healthier, a more successful, and a more fulfilling life. I want to say, as always, thank you for being here. It's the final podcast episode of the year 2021. This is it. This is the end. And because I got COVID, because I had to isolate, we wanted to do something a little bit different for the final podcast episode of the year. So this episode is streaming completely live across multiple platforms. I want to say hello and welcome all you beautiful people that are joining me live. Do engage. Do let me know how you're getting on. You're getting a sneak preview. You're not even getting a sneak preview. If you want to be stuck with me for the next 40 minutes approximately, you can watch the whole Rich in Success podcast happen completely live now on your chosen social media platform. And I do want to say a massive thank you everybody that has supported me this year, that has engaged with the content, that has shared the podcast. It means the world. I always say my mission is to help as many people as possible to live happier, healthier, more successful, and importantly, more fulfilling lives. And that is something that is difficult to do as just one man. So all your love, your appreciation, your engagement, and your sharing of the content is massively appreciated. Now, down to the final episode of 2021. 16 steps to living your best year. Now, at the end of every year, I like to do a podcast like this. I think it works really nicely, to reflect on the year that we've had.
to learn the lessons that we can learn, and then to be able to use that as a catalyst to setting goals for the next year. So in preparation for recording this podcast episode, I spent a little bit of time going through the backlog of the previous 155 episodes of the Rich in Success podcast, and in particular listening to the sort of content I've put out each year. And one of the things that I found is the messages in the main remain pretty consistent. And I think last year or the year before, I did a 13 steps to living your best year. This year we've got a few more steps, but a lot of it is kind of going back to the principles that I said last year, the year before. And I think there's something really important to take away from that. And that is my first step on this year's podcast, is to continue to implement the basics that you know work. And the reason that I've made that the first step is something that I speak about time and time again is, knowledge without application is not power. It's not what you know that's powerful or valuable. It's what you do with what you know. And there's a quote that I want to kind of remind people of, and that is that success breeds complacency, and complacency breeds failure. So you've got kind of this weird cycle going on, that the more successful we get, the easier it becomes to be more complacent. But the more complacent we get, the easier it becomes to be a failure at whatever that is that we want to achieve. So this is something that's really, really important to be mindful of, and something I in particular this last year have had an experience of. I am not the most successful person you'll ever listen to on your social media feeds or on the podcast or wherever you're listening to me today. There's many, many people that have been more successful. And also, as I always say, success is subjective. That is one of the main missions of this podcast, is to help you identify what success means to you, so that you can then live a life where you're implementing and acting in alignment with that. So what I did this last year is achieved more, I would say the last 18 months, achieved more than I've ever achieved in my life, both extrinsically, so that's the external, but also intrinsically, internal. When we look at success being self-love, self-belief, self-confidence, having good, high self-esteem and self-worth, and genuinely feeling that you're congruent and you're aligned with being the best version of yourself, that's a really important thing. And I feel like in the last 18 months, that's something I've really developed and got to a position where I'm more confident, I'm more competent in what I do. And I genuinely believe in myself more than I ever have. But also externally, this last 12 months, I've earned more money than I've ever earned, and by a long way as well. I set up my first company when I was 19 years old. And the financial success, didn't come for many, 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 many years of working my ass off. And it's only really been this year that I've achieved financial success that used to be a massive dream. And again, I'm not saying I'm the most financially successful person you'll ever listen to, but I have achieved more financial success than I ever have before, and more than the vast majority of people ever will. I had my highest profit month earlier in April this year, and in a time span of just 4 weeks, I did £16,000 in profit in just 4 weeks. Like, people aim to do that 10k a month. I did nearly double that in 1 month. Now, I'm not saying that was consistent. I'm not saying that I've earned that every single month this year, but to do 16 grand in profit in 1 month, and then subsequently most months be around that 10 grand mark profit. This isn't me just getting my dick out, waving it, going, who's the longest, and just talking about our turnover, like a lot of entrepreneurs and business coaches, apparently successful, talk about. I'm talking profit. And that for me was fucking huge. To do 16 grand profit in 4 weeks was massive, and that was a dream. So what I found is off the back of that, I did a bodybuilding show in June this year. Yo, hey everyone joining on the lives. So for everyone joining, I'm recording a live podcast right now. It's the final podcast episode of the year, which is the Rich in Success podcast. Do engage with me if you're tuning in live and witnessing this live podcast recording. So when I did the bodybuilding show, I also then went and got into the best shape of my life. You know, my body fat was the lowest it's ever been. I put on the most muscle I've ever put on. So it's like, externally, I'm achieving these things. Last year, I achieved 2 world records. And internally, I'm achieving more self-belief, more self-love, more confidence, more self-esteem. And I'm fucking successful. I've finally achieved a lot of the things and been able to tick a lot of the boxes that I've dreamed about for many years. And this year, I made it happen. However, as the quote goes, success breeds complacency, complacency breeds failure. And I witnessed that. I experienced a level of that, a level of, oh, I'm not getting up as early. I'm not as driven. I'm not as motivated. I'm not as focused. And I'm like, well, I'm earning the money now. My body's good now. And actually the amount of sacrifice, hard work, and determination that it took to get those results, you then start to talk yourself into, well, life isn't all about results. And it isn't, by the way. That's something else to stress. It's not all about these external achievements at all. That's something I've really learned. But what you can do if you're not careful is spill over into complacency. So then what I had to do is remember what got me here, remember my reasons why, remember what's important, and remember that it's the fucking basic, obvious shit done consistently, repeated over time, that leads to getting fulfillment, happiness, success. And whatever you define success as, it does not matter. Because if it's to have a more fulfilling, meaningful relationship, if it's to have more money in your bank, if it's to lose a bit of body fat, consistency in daily habits over time will get you that success. So that's the first step. If you want 2022 or any year to genuinely be one of your best years, you've got to remember, just because you know what to do doesn't mean you're doing it consistently. And I've been guilty of this. And it is that phrase, knowledge without application is not power. So what we can do is get complacent. Yeah, I've done the 5 a.m. club. Yeah, I've done the grinding 7 days a week. I've done all this. I've ate healthy. I've trained hard. You know, I've sold. I've scaled my business. I've led my team. I've led by example. Now I just want to fucking chill. Then that day or weekend of chilling becomes a week. Then that week becomes a month. Before you know it, it's a fucking year. And you've achieved fuck all, except for getting fatter, lazier. Then what happens with that is the knock-on effect of the mental health implications. Your self-worth goes down, your self-esteem goes down, your self-confidence goes down, your self-love goes down. And then you're back into a really low place. So the first step to living your best year is continue to implement the basics that you know work. And that's really important to remember, that you know what works really. You know exercising regular makes you feel better. You know eating the healthier foods regular makes you feel better. You know staying hydrated. You know going out and getting fresh air. You know moving your body, working on stretching. You know being around positive conversations. You know investing in yourself. You know investing in personal growth. You know reading and listening to audio about self-development. You know consuming content that motivates and inspires, keeps you mentally sharp and focused and in a good place. You know this shit works. We all know it works. But it's not the knowledge that counts. It's the implementation consistently of what we know that's going to make the difference. So the first added in step, or the first step even, of this year's podcast is to not forget to always come back to the basics. Thank you everybody joining me live and showing me love. I can see Yasmin says you have made me have more confidence and have given me so much more. And I just want to say a massive thank you so much for being here for me. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Rochelle as well, to Tom, all the people joining on Instagram and Facebook. Hi everybody, do interact. Okay, the second step to being able to create your best year ever. Get clear on your vision. This is massive, okay? When we model successful people, they know not only what they want, not only exactly what they need to do, but importantly, exactly who they need to be. Too many people, when it comes to New Year's resolutions, just write non-specific, generic bullshit goals. I want to be in the best shape of my life. I want to earn more money than I've ever earned. Good luck with that. How much money? What does the best shape look like? By what month? How do you measure that you're on track to achieving it? How do you need to conduct yourself? What are the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions that you need to display daily? What are the pitfalls and the potential problems and obstacles we need to be aware of? How will you overcome it when they come? Now you've got an opportunity to actually have hindsight prior to trying to achieve your goals, because you can reflect on what you've done previously, reflect on what didn't work. Remember, if you do what you've always done, you will get what you've always got. So it's down to you to reflect on what you've always done, see what worked, see what didn't work, and get super, super clear on your vision. So be intentional, be specific, and think about, how do you actually want to show up in the world? How do you want to make other people feel? What's the energy you want to give to them? Yo, we've got Ross Grant in the house. Ross is joining me on Facebook. I'm currently streaming on multiple platforms, recording live the final episode of Rich in Success for this year. Ross has been a great guest. I believe Ross has been on the show 4 times now, at least 3 times. Ross, if you've got any key steps or tips, anything that you want to reflect on from this year that you could share with the listeners, that'd be absolutely bloody incredible. This is going to be the best podcast ever, man. Ross's goal is he wants to show up COVID-free. I feel for you. So Ross also got COVID prior to Christmas, just like I did. So it's not been the Christmas we'd hoped for, the Christmas we'd planned, but we're still here. We're still fighting, and we're still showing up. Okay, so yeah, number 2 is get clear on what that vision actually is. But the vision not just being external, the vision not just being things you want to achieve. Be clear on, who do I need to be? How do I want to conduct myself? How do I want to make other people feel in my presence? How do I want to give to others? Know the person that you need to be. I always say to my clients, there's something we say that is act as if, which doesn't necessarily mean fake it till you make it. It doesn't mean just bullshit your way to success. But it's get clear on what you want to achieve and who you need to be to achieve that, and then act as if you're that person today. So a great example I'll give you is I was once coaching a group of network marketers, and one lady asked me the question. She said, I would be really fearful to go live now and to sell my business. I'm just going to cut off on what I'm saying, because Ross has just said, I cannot emphasize the importance of sleep enough in 2022. And Ross, I completely agree with you on that. And it is, I think number 4 or 5 or something. Oh, number 6. That is one of the things that I'm going to talk about, because I completely agree. And that's been a big lesson for me over the last few years as somebody who spent a lot of time, you know, burning the candle at both ends, as they say, hustling and grinding 7 days a week, not having much time for rest, you know, traveling the country and indeed Europe in my band. Sleep was something that wasn't prioritized enough. And all I can say is it massively hindered my progress, massively hindered my physical health, massively hindered my mental health. So, mate, thank you, Ross. I completely agree. And I'll be going into a little bit more depth of that one in just a second. But back to my story on point number 2 about having a clearer vision, about acting as if. So I was coaching this group of network marketers, and the lady said, I feel nervous going live on social media and selling what it is that I sell. And I said, okay, I understand that. This is a common problem that people come up against, feeling fear of judgment. I said, but I want you to think about now, imagine a year from now, your business has done over £1 million in profit. You've hired many people who have been really successful through working for your company. You've achieved everything you wanted to achieve pretty much with that business. And how you've done it is selling the products, the services that you sell today. Would you be scared? Would you be scared to share your journey? Would you be scared to talk about that business now you've achieved what you've achieved? And immediately she was like, hell no, I'd be happy to talk about it. I went, right, okay. So be that version of yourself now. Be that version of yourself now. The problem that so many people have is they wait for their results to show up. They wait to see evidence before they have the belief. The problem is, unfortunately, the world don't work like that. You've got to have the belief before the results come. So what I always say to clients is you've got to be it here mentally before you actually become it physically. You've got to walk talk, act, think, feel, believe you are that person way before the results are going to start to show, because then you're going to start to emit a different energy. You're going to be that sort of person that people want to be around, that people trust, that people believe in. And by default, because you're acting like the person, your actual results will start to show up as that person. Ross also put here, seriously, lack of sleep very much affected me this year, even down to the hormonal level. People need to not worry about feeling bad about getting 8 or 9 hours. It's more important about what you do when you are awake. And of course, what you do when you are awake will be massively affected by how much sleep you have. Like, you're going to be more focused, energized, more positive if you're more well rested and you've slept better. So completely and utterly bang on point as always, Ross. Thank you so much for sharing that, mate. I completely agree with you. So going back to step number 2, have a clear vision, not only of what you want to achieve externally, but who do you need to be? What are the thoughts, the feelings? And really focus on your identity. This is something I coach a lot. It's your identity that drives your habits and behaviors, and it's your behaviors and habits that drive your results. So if we focus on belief, if we focus on who do we believe we are, who do we think we are, more than anything, then by default, that will start to drive different behaviors and habits. And by default, the behaviors and habits changing will start to drive different results. It's a really, really important thing to focus on. And it's something that I don't think enough people really understand on a deep level. So I urge you, if you're new on this journey of self-discovery, on personal development, really do your research, spend time working on identity, what your current identity is, what are the current beliefs you have about yourself, who do you believe you are in society, who do you believe you are within your relationships, who do you believe you are when no one else is watching? Have you really thought about those questions, and do you know the answers? Okay, moving on to number 3. So number 3 is, it's important to take more time to focus on being present, proud, and grateful. This has been a huge one for me over the last year, and I think I've got it more right than I ever have done before. Because what I mean by that is, often people that crave success, often people that are really driven people, and often, in particular, entrepreneurs, are just always so focused on what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next. So they don't really take the time to celebrate their wins, to really appreciate what they've achieved so far, to be grateful for what they've already got, because they're just focusing on what's next. And one of the biggest changes I found is when you take the time to focus on being more present, to be more proud and be more grateful, not only do you enjoy the journey and the process, and today way much more, but what's interesting is that kind of acts as a little extra catalyst to creating new levels of fire in your belly to achieve more. Because when you feel really present in the moment, really grateful for the opportunity of being alive, really grateful for everything that you've done so far, and really proud of everything you've achieved, then by default, you're like, I want more of this feeling. This is a beautiful feeling to experience. So what a lot of people get wrong, and what I got wrong for a long time, is only focusing on what's next, what's next, what's next. Often that can then start to be demotivating, exhausting, not very fulfilling, and by default, you become less driven, always just looking at what's next, what's next. So a huge, huge point, I think, for many of us, as we look at next year, wanting to have our, creating our most successful year, is don't just focus solely on goals and what's next. Spend more time on a daily basis focusing on, what have I got to be proud of right now? What have I got to be grateful of right now? And am I being present in this moment, in this opportunity right now? Okay, so that's step number 3. Step number 4 is, now it sounds obvious, like a lot of them do when I first say it, but are you doing this on a regular basis? Number 4 is plan to be successful, okay? You're going to plan this shit. Remember the phrase that failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So you've got to know, what does your days need to look like to make sure your daily behaviors and actions are actually aligned with the results you want to achieve. So have you actually tried and tested, like Ross was saying there over on Facebook, sleep? How much sleep do you actually need? What are the best morning routines and importantly, evening routine that mean you maximize what you get out of the day? You have the highest levels of energy, highest levels of positive mood, highest levels of focus. Have you actually tried and tested the times in the day when you have higher energy, lower energy? And then have you scheduled around that your most productive, important tasks around higher energy and the less important tasks around your lower energy? All these kind of things sound obvious once you say them, but how many of you have actually got that level of awareness? Do you know your peaks and troughs throughout the day? Do you know the morning routine that makes you the most optimum focused version of yourself? Do you know the best evening routine that enables you to have the deepest, most powerful amount of sleep that then sets you up for the best day? I have a model that I coach people called the PDS model. And what that is to try and get people away from to-do lists, because I believe that to-do lists often create a lot of overwhelm and they become counterproductive. What I get people to do is start with a bit of a to-do list. A to-do list. I'm not sure what one of those is, but we could explore it. It could be fun. We start with a to-do list, which is ultimately to do what I call just a brain dump. Get everything down on paper. Everything you know you need to do, from the most important, massive, world-changing stuff, right down to the small tasks like I need to make sure that I book the dentist, I need to book my booster jab, whatever it is, I need to get the car cleaned, and everything in between. So the first step is to just brain dump, get everything out on paper. Then we go through a 3-step process, which is the PDS model. The P stands for prioritize. So look at putting them in 4 different categories. Category number 1 is what must get done today. Category number 2 is what must get done before the end of the week. Category number 3 is what can I move to next week and beyond. And category number 4 is delete that shit. And what I mean by that is, you can change the title accordingly if you don't like swear words. What I mean by that is, when you write everything down and you actually get it to fight for a place on that list, you'll find there might be stuff on there that you don't even need to do, that you just thought you needed to do, or you thought would be a nice goal or whatever, but actually it's just taking your focus right now. And at this time in your life, you don't need to even be taking any moment to think about that. So you delete it. Once you've prioritized into what needs to be done today, this week, next week, or not at all, the second step is delegate. Now, this is something a lot of people find difficult, but it's super important that you need to go, what are the things that other people can do? Is the people I can pay to do this? It might be getting an extra team member in your business. It might be getting a cleaner. Is there people that can help you with this? Is it that you can get someone else in your team that could do the job better than you or help you out with that? Have you got a friend, a family member, a friend that can help you? Too often I see many people just trying to do everything themselves. And actually, when we get better at delegation, we get better at growth. Okay, remember that in order to grow, you have to let go. You cannot do everything yourself if you want to grow, if you want to scale. Delegation is a super important skill to work on. That's the second thing. The third thing, which is the S, is schedule. And what it means is, rather than just doing a to-do list, we now start to allocate time slots for everything we need to do. So 5 a.m. till 6 a.m., what am I going to achieve specifically? 6 till 7 and so on. This is something I'll go through in real depth with my clients, but I want to share that with you today on this podcast episode to get you thinking better about, are you actually planning your days for success, or are you just setting goals, generally thinking about them a bit and hoping for the best? When you have a plan, remember that increases drastically your chances of success. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. I can just see here we've got Venus on Facebook. He's just said, I have to confess that all that you coached and trained me, may it be for a little while, but I did put it into practice and stayed consistent with the hustle and kept believing. And for this entire year, I've had no good projects for my business, but in this month of December, the results have now started showing. And in the new year, we are opening up a new office in Mumbai and Mangalore. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I'm not sure where that is. with new potential clients with the projects worth £1 to £5 million, which are currently in discussions with many more clients. A big thank you, and I continue to follow you, for you are the boss and a true coach. Wow! And that's incredible, because Venus jumped on some of my coaching courses back in January at the start of this year, 2021, and he's just said there he's continued to implement, work hard, follow everything he learned, and saw very little results for the whole year until just this month, where boom! Suddenly there's some huge results happening. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's absolutely incredible, and a massive testament to you, because I always say this. I say it on all my podcasts, or not all my podcasts, but I say it regular, and I definitely say it a lot when I'm coaching people, that the content I give you, the time you spend with me, will be the biggest pile of shit you've ever consumed if you don't act on it consistently. The only way that we get results is not based on what I tell you, but it's based on what you do with what I tell you. So a massive well done, buddy, and thank you for sharing that. Okay, point number 5. This has been a huge one for me in the last 6 months, is make more time for fun. Okay, so again, this follows on nicely from point number 3 about taking time to be present, proud, and grateful. Often we can be so serious about achieving more that we forget that life is here to be enjoyed. And yes, goals are important. Yes, being serious about success is important, but not to the detriment of ever having fun. So I think reminding yourself to actually schedule time for fun. Actually focus on what's things I can do to bring adventure and spontaneity and variety into my life. Being able to laugh at yourself and not always take yourself seriously. Like, things are going to go wrong. You're going to make mistakes. But when you can actually laugh at yourself and bring humor to others and see the humor in the dark times is a great, great tool. So like last week when I realized I had COVID, that was really, really negative news. That meant that all my plans changed. It meant that I couldn't be with my family over Christmas, and it wasn't the best news. On top of that, my toilet broke. On top of that, my boiler broke. So I'm literally spending Christmas isolated with no hot water and a broken toilet. Now, that would have been easy to get really negative. And within an hour, I did a FaceTime to my mum, and we were both crying, laughing at how ridiculous the situation was. Someone else would have been crying because they were genuinely soul destroyed. So remember, life is only 5% what happens to us and 95% how you choose to respond. Now, that doesn't mean you're always going to get it right. We're human beings, we're feeling beings, we're emotional beings. Sometimes our emotion takes over. But if you can be self-aware enough to actively focus on having more fun, seeing the humor, being able and comfortable enough to laugh at yourself when you are going through difficult times, I promise you that is going to massively equip you to have a far better year in the coming months and the coming year. So number 6 is to make more time to have fun. Sorry, that was number 5. Number 6, however, is prioritize your health. It sounds so bloody obvious, but so many of us let weeks and weeks and weeks and even months and even years pass us by where our health is the bottom of the list. It's so important, and I know I sound like a broken record with this one, and I'll hold my hands up as well. I don't always get it perfect. Like, again, it comes back to what I said on the last point. We're human beings. We're not always going to get everything perfect. But it's so important, as often as possible, to get right at the top of that priority list, your health. And I say that as a man who has had COVID. Like, I say that as a man that literally felt this just over the last week, how shit it is. When you don't have your health, you literally have nothing, And I think that comes back to what I was just saying with Ross, who was on the video, saying about sleep being so important. Like, we know this information. It's not new information. Like, sleep will help you. Sleep is good for you. Yet for so many of us, when we get busy and we get so focused on goals and achieving and things like that, we put sleep to the bottom of the list when really it should be at the top. Like, if you sleep better, you're going to feel better, you're going to think better, you're going to be more focused, you're going to be more energized, and you're going to get better results. So take your health seriously, prioritize it, I would say for the average person, focusing on exercising 3 to 5 times a week, focusing on hydration, focusing on diet and making sure that you've got good nutrition in there. And I would say with that, get educated. Like, find a reliable source and do your education. Learn, hire a coach if you need to hire a coach. I know that it can be so confusing because I know there's so much conflicting information out there on the internet. But do your due diligence, do your research, and get educated on what good nutrition looks like. And with that, my advice would always be have a bit of an 80-20 rule, Spend 80% of your week being pretty disciplined, being pretty strict, getting good nutritious foods in every meal, being mindful of the amount of calories, and if it helps you, maybe tracking and things like that to get some information, get some data that you can work with. Then spend 20% of the week doing whatever the fuck makes you happy. Like, if you want to get some alcohol in there, throw in some alcohol. If you want to, indulge in a load of chocolate, get the motherfucking chocolate out. If you like cheese and pizza and bread, like I certainly do, love it, enjoy it, get as much as you want. And I would just say that if you can do that in an 80-20% split throughout your week, you're in a pretty good place with it. And you're going to still be able to achieve, physical goals, whether that be increasing strength, whether that be increasing your fitness, or whether it be losing body fat, but you're going to do it in a long-term sustainable manner rather than these crash diets, these fad diets, these all-in extremes where you literally eat nothing but lettuce and drink rainwater 7 days a week for 6 months. Then you feel exhausted. You've lost weight, you feel like shit, you've not educated yourself. And guess what? You're just about to put it all back on all over again. So I would say prioritize your health if you want to have a great year, if you want to create your best year, but do it in a way that is mindful about longevity, sustainability. And when it comes to diet, I'd say around the 80-20 rule, you're in a good place. Okay, number 7 is set goals that scare you. Very, very simply, if you want growth, if you want improvement, and whether that be improved confidence, improved self-esteem, or if that's improvements in the gym with your physique or your strength, or if that's improvements financially, or if that's improvements in terms of growing and scaling a business, whatever it is that you want growth and improvement in, understand operating in a stretch zone is where we create growth. Operating in a comfort zone, doing the shit you're good at and you're comfortable at, isn't going to keep you progressing and moving forward in anything. Okay, so if you go into the gym and you're just going to keep lifting the same weight and doing the same routine, that will sustain your current level of strength, that will sustain your current fitness level, but it ain't going to grow it, it ain't going to improve it, it's not going to evolve your results. That's the same with business. You can get stuck in a rut, doing the same things that have worked up until that point, servicing the same clients, getting the same repeat business, but it ain't going to get new eyes on the brand. It's not going to create innovative, new forward-thinking products and services that are going to grow you, that are going to scale you. So when you look at writing your goals, if you're going to be setting goals for the new year, ask the question, how much of it does it actually scare you? How much is venturing into new territory? How much is challenging you, stretching you, and pushing you to grow? And you want to make sure a high percent is, if you genuinely look for next year being your best year in terms of improvement and growth. Really important to call yourself out on that and get real. There's this thing that I talk a lot about imposter syndrome. People feeling that they're doing things, outside of what they're capable of. And I always say that's great. That's good. Like, we should look at imposter syndrome as a positive. We should reframe that as something we should chase. Because if you're in a room where everyone else is wiser, smarter, is better, what a great room to be in order to learn, in order to grow, and in order to get better. So number 7 is set the goals that scare you if you want growth. Number 8 is huge, and they're all huge. So I'm going to say this every single time, but this is super huge. Number 8 is surround yourself with the right team to succeed. So there's a quote I often refer to here by Jim Rohn, who is a thought leader. He is a motivational speaker who massively influenced Tony Robbins. And he says, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you spend your time with 5 people who generally bitch and moan and complain and whine and focus on bringing others down and focus on the problems and how hard their life is, if you focus on people that don't believe they can do any better, don't believe they can achieve anymore, people who believe, oh, the rich are only rich because they got lucky or they were born into wealth and I can never be rich. If you focus on people that never, ever, ever want to go to the gym and they never be disciplined, if that's the sort of people you focus on spending most time with, you will more than likely become similar to them, because we as human beings are heavily influenced by what we hear, what we see, what we feel, and what people around us are doing. But the beautiful thing is, you can literally reverse that. So if you instead surround yourself with the people that always focus on the solutions, that focus on encouraging, inspiring, motivating, that focus on discipline, that focus on growth, that focus on adopting a mindset that anything is possible. If somebody else achieved it, why can't I? That focus on doing the things that scare them, that grow them, that push outside of a comfort zone on a general, on a regular basis, you're going to start to adopt some of their behaviors and attitudes, and you're going to start to change your results. So remember, it may be hard. I know that this is a tough one, but in order to genuinely live a happier life, you've got to focus on cutting out some of the negative energy drainers, even if it's family members to some degree in some circumstances. And I know that's really hard to hear. But the people that put you down, the people that don't make an effort, the people that lack ambition, the people that don't inspire you, that don't encourage you, that just drain your focus, your drive, your energy, your motivation, you don't want to be spending a lot of time with them. So yes, I want to reiterate, I know that's easier said than done, but remember the quote that doing harder things in life, choosing the harder path, will often lead long-term to an easier life. And choosing to do easier things in the short term, like stuffing your face full of chocolate, like saying yes to another beer, like surrounding yourself with relationships that don't fulfill you just because it's easier than having to upset people, choosing to do those easier things in the short term will often lead to a harder life in the long term. Hey, we've got Judith there, says, yes, love to focus, get that work done. Focus is massive. And thank you for sharing that. I hope you're good. Thank you for joining me, everybody that is joining me on the various lives as I stream across multiple platforms, recording this live episode of the Rich in Success podcast. Don't forget, if you haven't already, do subscribe, do download, do add and share the podcast. I'd massively appreciate it if you come and join us over there, and also could leave me a rating and review. This episode will be going out live in a matter of days. If you are joining live and you're just dipping in and out and you think, oh, this sounds good, I'd like to listen to it in full, do check out the Rich in Success podcast as it will be released. Okay, so that is number 8, surrounding yourself with the right team and getting rid of the negative energy motherfucking drainers that are out there. Hey, Gavin, Larry. Gavin says, being aware of the energy and time of day is thumbs up. 100%, 100%. Okay, number 9, super, super important. Make time for mindfulness and self-care, okay? Basically, prioritize your mental health. Like, this is so fucking important, and so many of us can just get lazy with it. So many of us can stop being aware of the importance of it and just let life happen to us. So taking time for mindfulness, it might be doing a bit of meditation. It might be just having some time on your own with your thoughts, realigning with where you're at in your life and what you truly want. It might be listening to a podcast. It might be going for a walk. But remember, if you get stuck in this rut of just giving to other people all the time, whether that be being a parent, whether that be just giving to your partner all the time, whether that be just be giving to your family all the time, whether it be just giving to your work, to your business all the time, remember that's selfish. Because if you're giving all the time, you're going to get exhausted, you're going to get tired, you're going to make worse decisions, and you're not going to be the best you can for them. So this is why I always say the phrase, we've got to be selfish in order to truly be selfless. And what I mean by that is people perceive it to be selfish to take time out, to focus on themselves, to say no to things. They perceive it to be selfish to do that. They perceive it to be selfish to start the day by doing something for them before they start speaking to anyone else. But actually, if in doing that, it protects your mental health, it increases your self-esteem, it increases your energy, your focus, your passion. Guess what? You're going to be better for the other people that you give to. So remember, you cannot give what you haven't got. Remember to give to you first, not last, first, before you give to anyone else. Remember the phrase, it's not selfish to take time for self-care. It's actually the most selfless thing you can do. If you want to be the best for others, you've got to start by being the best for you. So that might be having a clear morning routine for you before you start talking to anybody else. It might be calling time on social media on an evening where you switch off. It might be saying no to things that it will be easier to say yes in the short term because you don't want to hurt people's feelings. But if you're not the best you can be, you're not going to be the best for others. So number 9 is make time for mindfulness and self-care. Number 10 is in the next year, if you want to create your best year ever, you need to have a number of different levels of accountability. This is something that I've massively learned over the past few years, is your increase in productivity, your increase in results, and your increase in success will be heavily dependent on your levels of accountability. So if you just write down a load of goals now and you're like, yeah, that's good, that'll do, I'll go with that, and you tell nobody, and you ask nobody to support you in that, and you ask nobody to call you out on that, the chances of getting it done are pretty slim, pretty small. But if you've got accountability, if you've got people that equally understand the mission and the vision, they know the goals, they know who you need to be on a daily basis in order to get those goals achieved, suddenly part of adopting the behaviors and habits that are going to help you achieve those goals isn't about achieving the goals. Suddenly part of it becomes about, I just want to get this person off my case, or I just don't want to be perceived as being a shit talker that talks a good talk but then doesn't back it up with action. So increasing accountability, and you can do this in many different ways. You know, you could get accountability from just stating things on social media. Get your audience, to hold you accountable. You can have it accountability by telling a friend, a partner, a family member, look, this is what I want to do. I'm really serious about it, but I know it's going to be a struggle. I know it's going to be a challenge. I know there's going to be times when I lack motivation. I would like you to hold me accountable to staying on track. But the highest level of accountability, I would suggest, is hiring a coach or mentor. Now, that doesn't need to be on a one-to-one basis, because I know that can be something that not everyone can afford at this point, but it could be joining an accountability group. You know, it could be joining a community that a coach is leading. It could be joining, like we've got at Rich in Success, the membership area. It could be joining the 5-day free accelerator course that I'm doing in January. There's many different ways you can get accountability from a professional, but I would always urge you, if possible, where possible, increase accountability by paying to get around a professional. And the reason being, if you tell just a family member, just a partner, just a friend, and then it gets tough, and then you get to those days when you can't be asked, it's easier to just perceive them as a friend that doesn't have authority over you. So it's easier to just turn around and be like, oh, look, not today, I can't be bothered. I know I said this thing, but I don't want you to do it today. I want the day off. If you've committed financially to working with a professional whose job, sole purpose is there to keep you on track, you're going to take them more seriously. You're going to take what they say and what you want to do more seriously, and you're more likely to stay on track. So number 10 is have numerous levels of accountability, but really, as best as you can, when you can, invest in getting the highest level of accountability. Invest in having professionals help you do it. Number 11, just a quick one I want to touch upon here, and I'm going to do more content in depth on this. But number 11 is, in 2022, if you want to have your best year and you want to create your best year, focus more on becoming more disciplined. And the reason I say that is, I believe, too many people put motivation on a pedestal, and too many people focus on, oh, I'm not motivated today. Why am I not motivated? How can I be more motivated? And I actually think, like, not being motivated all the time is perfectly normal. We are human beings. We have a lot of emotions. Motivation is just one of them. And more often than not, it won't be there. So my advice to you next year is stop putting so much of an emphasis on focus on how to be more motivated, and instead put more of an emphasis on being more disciplined. Because when motivation fails, discipline can prevail. So one of the tips I'll give you on being more disciplined is getting more clarity on why it is so important to achieve your goals. In other words, finding your reason why. And what I would say is find it on a deep level. So there's an exercise I take clients through called 7 Levels Deep. This gets them thinking way more deeper and way more emotional than they would when they just think about their goals on what I call a surface level thinking. So it's really, really important. If you want to stay more disciplined, one of the ways you can do that is focus more on really finding your true reason why it matters to you to achieve that goal and what would happen if you don't actually achieve it. Number 12 is give back now. Now, this is something, again, I've really, really grown to understand on a deep level over this last, I would say, 18 months. And there's a phrase that sticks with me. The art of living is giving. Now, I truly believe there's no more fulfilling, happier feeling than that of when you see another human being feel better because of something you've done, said, or just from being in your presence. Like, I genuinely think there's no better feeling than when somebody else's day has been made that little bit brighter as a direct result of your actions. So I want you to focus on that more in the next year. If you truly want a more fulfilling, a happier, and a more successful year next year, ask yourself the question, how often are you focused on giving back to others? Now, immediately when I say something like that, people think, well, this is a mindset I think that holds a lot of people back, actually, is they think, well, when I earn 6 figures or when I become a millionaire, then I will give back to charity. Then I'll be able to help, more people. But actually, if you don't do it now, the likelihood of you doing it then is pretty small. That's just fact. It's all this kind of elusive goal of I'll be happy when, and I'll give to charity when, and I'll be more confident when. It's all bullshit. It all comes down to what are you doing now? And remember, it doesn't have to cost you any money. You could decide to volunteer in something once a month. You could decide to participate in doing something for charity once a month. Giving your time. It doesn't have to be giving your money. But I want you to remember that phrase, the art of living is giving. And genuinely, I don't believe there's a more fulfilling, happier feeling than that of when you make somebody's day that little bit brighter, when somebody feels better about themselves or their situation as a direct result of something you have done. That's true happiness. That's true fulfillment. And you think it's a selfless thing because it is when you give to others, but actually it's a selfish thing. It feels fucking phenomenal. So number 12 is give back now. Stop deluding yourself, thinking you have to be a millionaire and you have to have your life perfect before you can give back to others. Ooh, number 13 is an important one, and it can be a painful one. It can be a real stumbling block for a lot of people. But number 13 is forgive everybody, including yourself. Forgive everybody, including yourself. Now, I want to make something really, really clear. This is not about allowing people to just walk all over you, take the piss, take you for granted. Yo, hey, coach, bye, Caron. We've got Caron in the house. So just for those people that are joining me, Yasmin says, just having time to speak to your friends and checking in is a good thing to do. Absolutely, Yasmin, 100%. So just to let people know, joining me on the lives, I'm currently streaming live across multiple platforms as I record a live podcast episode, the final podcast of the year for Rich in Success. Thank you for joining me. Do engage on the live videos if you're watching me. Coach by Caron says, this is a great point. Thank you, Caron. It really, really is. So when we talk about forgiveness, as I say, it's very different to allowing people to walk all over you. And what I want to make very clear is this is not about the other person that has wronged you. You know, whether they've cheated, whether they've stolen, whether they've lied. It's not about letting them get away with it. It's about setting yourself free from having another second of bitterness or negativity. Because in not forgiving, all you do is hold on to negativity and bitterness. So this is about you letting go of that and you actually having more peace and more happiness. And I say this from experience. You know, I speak openly all the time on this podcast and on the live videos. I've been fucked over many, many times in business. I've had many people take advantage of me. I've had many people let me down. I've been cheated on in previous relationships. I've had thousands of pounds stolen from me by people that have worked for me, by previous partners. Like, I've been walked all over, shit on, and taken the piss out of many times. But I genuinely forgive them all. And more than that, I genuinely wish them well. And I hope that they're starting to learn from their mistakes and grow and get better. And I tell you now, that's such a fucking nice place to be. How can I be there? Because I know I'm a good person. And I know spending my time, my energy, and my focus on doing things that are going to grow me, bring me more fulfillment, and bring others happiness. And also not losing that quality of seeing the best in people is only helping me have a more fulfilling, happier life. If I was to spend my time, any of my time, thinking that bastard did that, and who do they think they are, and blah, 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 what am I doing? That's my life I'm wasting and spending on negativity and bitterness. But I also add to that, hey Morgan, I also add to that, forgive yourself. Because you're a human being. You will fuck up from time to time. You will make mistakes. And that's okay as long as you learn from it. And the intention is to take those mistakes and grow and improve. That's super, super important. Forgive yourself, and remember that if you're making mistakes, it means you're taking risks, it means you're putting yourself out there, and it means you're trying. I'd much rather employ someone in my business and be around people that keep fucking up because they're trying so hard to get better than people that never have the courage to at least give it a shot. So number 13 is forgive everybody, including yourself. Now, for some of you, that might take some soul searching. For some of you, that might be really tough. I don't give a fuck. The truth is the truth. I promise you, if you're serious about creating your most successful year ever next year, you've got to forgive people. You've got to let that negativity and that bitterness and that grudge holding, you've got to let it go. Okay, we're nearly there, people. We're nearly at the end. I do hope you found this a valuable listen, whether you be watching live on any of the platforms I'm streaming on, or if you are indeed listening to the podcast episode. I would always appreciate your feedback as always. Make sure you follow me on all platforms, Matt Hall Official on Instagram, Matt Hall on Facebook, and also the Rich in Success on various platforms as well. Do make sure you are checking me out. Also, I want to say, if you want completely free coaching for 5 days, I'm running the 5-day Life Accelerator Challenge from Monday, the 3rd of January for 5 consecutive days. All you've got to do to join us on that free challenge is email my PA, sarah.king at be-organise.co.uk. That is sarah.king at be-organise.co.uk. That is my PA. Say that you want to join Matt on his 5-day challenge. She will get you added, and for 5 days you will get free coaching. You will get to join a group and a community of like-minded individuals who are serious about success. You will get challenges for your mind and for your body, and I will be helping you set the correct foundations, the habits, the routines, the behaviors, and indeed the thought processes that you need to get you focused on creating the foundations to creating your best year ever. And I mean that. We've run this a few times before. Every time it's been super successful, every time it's been super popular, do not be a spectator. Do not miss out on this opportunity. It will cost you nothing. All you need to do is get focused. All you need to do is take action. And all you need to do is be ready to learn, to grow, and to be accountable. It's that simple. sarah.king@bee-organise.co.uk to join us on Monday, the 3rd of January. Okay, 3 more to go. Number 14 is drop your ego. The ego can be one of the worst things that stops you from achieving more. It's one of the things that stops you taking responsibility. It's one of the things that stops you admitting when you do something wrong. It's one of the things that stops you asking for feedback. And it's one of the things that gets you bothered when people don't agree with you or don't like you. And remember, unfortunately, the reality is, if you are going to become more successful in life and you start doing well for yourself, you're going to get haters. You're going to get doubters. You're going to get critics. You're going to get trolls. You're going to get wankers. This is just what happens. So it's going to happen. If you want more success, if you want more fulfillment, if you want more joy and happiness, people ain't going to like that because it's part of human psychology. It's part of what people do. So rather than that affecting you and being a problem, well, understanding logically it's going to happen, what we should do is focus on what we can control, and what we can control is how we choose to respond. So not allowing the critics, the haters, the trolls, and the knob faces to actually like derail our success, derail our progress. Instead, focus on, that's okay. I can drop my ego. I don't need everyone to approve. I don't need everybody to like me. I don't need everybody to want me, because I've got focus on my vision. I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. I know exactly what I must do regardless of people's perception. And I understand that en route to achieving more, I'll be misunderstood by many, and that is okay. And also remember, in terms of growing a brand, growing a business, nobody likes vanilla. Everybody likes vanilla. Nobody loves it. You've got to stand for something. You've got to get clear on what your message is. You've got to know your mission, your vision. You've got to be strong on that. And you've got to understand that along the way, some will love, some will hate, and both is okay. But the only way you can do that is drop your ego. One of the things that actually holds a lot of people back is their need and their want and their desire for everybody to agree and love them. What I always say, and what I believe, is the vast majority of successful people, they still feel like the vast majority of people who are doing good things and achieving a lot would still like to be liked. Given the choice, they'd quite like it if people agreed with them and loved them. But the fundamental difference that I see is they don't focus on needing it. They focus on what they need to do to achieve the outcome they desire, more than focus on needing to be liked and loved by everybody. And that's really, really important. So number 14, drop the ego. You don't need everyone to like and love you. You can take criticism, you can take feedback, you can always learn. You're not perfect, and that's okay. Number 15, we're nearly there. We've got 16 in total. Number 15 is, if you are serious about creating your best year ever, and again, I don't just say this as somebody who coaches people, who's trying to tout for business. I'm doing all right, thank you very much. But I say this as somebody who coaches based on real life experience. And I know that all my achievements massively grew and massively sped up when I started hiring professional coaches. So whether that be a business coach, whether that be a relationship coach, whether that be a fitness coach, whether that be a life coach, whatever the areas are that you desire more success in, I promise you, you are way more likely, like 100 times more likely, to genuinely achieve that outcome when you start investing in hiring professional coaches that can help you in those areas. I promise you. Like, we all know that successful actors have acting coaches. We know that sports teams have coaches, athletes have coaches and mentors. We know that great singers have singing coaches. Why would it be any different if you want to get fitter? Why would it be any different if you want to grow a business? Why would it be any different if you want better relationships? Like, if you genuinely desire success in these areas of your life, hire coaches in those areas. There's great personal trainers. There's great counselors, there's great relationship coaches, there's life coaches, there's business coaches. If you're serious next year about achieving more than you have before, I promise you through experience, investing in coaches in those areas will be the most valuable and in many cases invaluable things that you can invest in. It's that simple. Remember that the DIY mentality, doing it yourself, will only get you so far. Remember that if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. I can see Joel's on here now, who's one of my coaches. Joel, I work with regular, often 2 to 3 times a week. I pay Joel to help coach me in the gym, and I'm a coach myself. I openly say I've invested in multiple business coaches, life coaches. I've invested in counselors before. Like, you can do what we say in NLP is model successful behaviors, and the millionaires are coached by multimillionaires by billionaires. Athletes have coaches, sports teams have coaches, singers have singing coaches, actors have acting coaches. If you want to be the best of the best, well, look at what the best of the best are doing, model their behaviors and attitudes. And if you don't see investing in your mental health, your physical health, if you don't see investing in growing in your businesses and things as a priority, then you don't actually see achieving in those areas as a real priority. I would suggest, cheers, Joel. Joel says, well said. I would suggest that you don't actually want the goal bad enough. I would suggest that you don't actually believe in yourself enough yet, because you think paying that money to that coach won't actually result in getting the outcome you desire. Well, the only reason it wouldn't work if you don't do the work the coach instructs you to do and supports you through. That's the only reason that it won't work. So that tells me there's a lack of self-belief. If you're scared about investing in yourself, that's because you're scared that you don't have the ability to see it through and get the result. So then I come back to the phrase, do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. In order to get a different result, you've got to make the decision to step out of your comfort zone, to do something differently. And it may mean that on this occasion, investing in a coach. Now, that's something that's been a game changer for me. It's something I will always do in various capacities. I'm not stupid enough to think I can just know what I know and then keep going. I understand the value in accountability. I understand the value in having external motivation and inspiration. And I understand the value in support. It's not just the knowledge that we learn. It's not, I'm just going to pay for a coach for 2 months, ask all the questions, get all the answers, and I'm good. It's the support, the motivation, and accountability along the way that's going to keep you on track. I cannot stress that enough. So number 15 is hire a coach or mentor in the areas that you desire more success. Venus says there, if you need a coach to kick a football, then you need a coach to achieve your goals in life. Like, listen to that, man. Jesus. If you need someone to coach you on kicking a motherfucking football around some grass, and you'd pay for a coach and you'd join a team and you'd get accountable to playing that, surely you should invest in one for your whole life. But people don't, right? So there we go. If you want to create the best year ever next year, take note of what we're saying. Okay, final one. We got there in the end, people. Thank you, those that have stayed with me. The final step on the 16 steps to help you create your best year ever is pursue your ultimate dreams. Now, I know that may sound really obvious, but please bear with me for a moment and really think with a little bit more depth on this. Pursue your ultimate dreams. What I see the vast majority of people doing is consistently settling for less than they truly want. They consistently settle for a job because it just keeps their head above water, it pays the bills, it allows them to get by. They consistently settle for relationships that they're not fully fulfilled or loved in because it's easier than having to break up. It's easier than creating, the emotional reaction and the baggage that it follows, especially those that have got kids. And I see people consistently settling for less than what they want to achieve in life because they're scared they can't do it. And I just want to put a reminder at the end of this podcast that we've only got one life. And really, in my opinion, the only risk you can take in life is settling, because that puts you at the risk of feeling truly unfulfilled, disappointed, and in many situations, truly depressed and dissatisfied in the life that they've led. I think it's not a risk, and it doesn't really take courage to pursue your ultimate dreams. Because if we can all agree that the real thing we're all looking for in life is fulfillment and happiness, then the risk is saying yes to things that pull you away from fulfillment and happiness. The risk is settling for a paycheck. The risk is not pursuing your dreams. Your risk is being in relationships you don't want to be in. The risk is getting fat and is saying yes to pizza every day and not saying yes to discipline. So the 16th step, and in many ways the most important step and advice I can give anyone, is please do not settle for less than you truly want out of this life. We've only got a short amount of time here. And if we can agree that the real success is finding true fulfillment, only pursue things that add to fulfillment. Don't pursue things that will lead to lack of fulfillment. And when you use that as your barometer of making decisions, I truly believe you're going to have the best year you can have. You're going to say no to more of the things that you don't want to do. You're going to start to say yes to more of the things that you truly do want to do. And although it might not all be straightforward, although at times it may be super difficult and super challenging and super tough, I promise you that in the long run, it will lead to less regret and more fulfillment. And I think they're the two things we should focus on. Doing the things that we're not going to lead us to feeling regret, and doing the things that are going to lead us to having more deep, true fulfillment. Guys, I hope you found this super, super valuable. As always, I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you engaging. I appreciate you sharing the content. If you could do me a favor, if you're on any of the live platforms, if you could share it to your Instagram story, if you could share it to your Facebook wall, I'd massively appreciate that. If you're listening on the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you could tell people about this podcast, if you could subscribe, if you could rate and review. Massive thank you, everybody, for being here. As I say, 16 steps there to truly creating your best year. I believe if you follow them, if you live by them, and if you focus on them on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, I promise you, you will start to have more success in every area of your life that you apply them. As always, I appreciate you. I hope you all had a great Christmas and you're super, super charged and ready to create the best year you can next year. Judith just said, 2022 will rock. Thank you, Matt. My absolute pleasure. Yasmin says, thank you, Matt, for your wise words. Thank you so much, Yasmin, for being here and for being on the live. Don't forget, take action. Take action. Don't just be a spectator. Don't just consume content. Act on the content. One of the ways you can do that is join me for my completely free 5-day Life Accelerator Challenge. Email my PA, sarah.king@bwe-organise.co.uk right now to join us on January the 3rd. We're going to be doing 5 days of coaching, 5 days of motivation, 5 days of inspiration, 5 days of accountability, 5 days where I'll be giving you challenges positively to grow you mentally and physically, and 5 days where I'm going to be giving you the actions, giving you the behaviors, the thoughts, and indeed the daily routines you need to set you up for success. Just DM me now if you're watching on the line, on the live, or drop my PA Sarah a quick email saying, please can I join Matt's 5-day challenge? That is sarah.king@bwe-organise.co.uk, and I will look forward to seeing you there on Monday the 3rd, where we're going to kickstart the year as we mean to go on. Have an amazing evening, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for watching.